Liv Morgan returns! Both WarGames matches kind of disappoint, and a mystery attacker interferes in the main event. No, not that one. Or that one. Or that one. A new one. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is my review of WWE Survivor Series WarGames 2025 in about 10 minutes.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. If you're new to us here at WrestleTalk, stomp that subscribe button for wrestling news videos and a full deep dive podcast review of Survivor Series in a bit. The PLE opened on a video package of someone developing photos in a dark room, which was kind of weird because none of the visual marketing for the show has involved taking photographs. Although it was fun when they had a shot of a Lesnar photo being developed at the same time the voiceover said, "Expose the truth." And then the WarGames cage lowered from the giant rig in the middle of Petco Park with the scary, intimidating noise. Whoa! Whoa! The rules were explained, Whackbat, but this time there was a difference. The teams wouldn't all be kept in smaller cages on the stage. Instead, they would just do a normal entrance from the back when it was their turn. Which probably makes more sense. The little cages do look a bit silly, and the crowd will presumably pop more if the entrant coincides with the first time they see the wrestler. And people say WWE these days is just entrances. But I will miss the small games enclosures because it was actually a really good setting to further character tension. Watching the teams prepare their strategy and entrant order is one of the more fun parts of the stipulation. But also, Brock probably thought it looked dumb. So no tiny cages this year, everyone! Charlotte started the match for the lady faces, while Asuka led the heel charge. Unfortunately, WWE booked the good girls to have the advantage, which never works as well psychologically for the match. It's one of the problems with having two WarGames matches on one night. You end up working against the best version of the stipulation to not repeat yourself. Really, Charlotte should have been beaten up by Asuka and Becky Lynch for Io Sky to make the save, but instead we had the not super effective cadence of Io and Charlotte double teaming heel Asuka, then Lynch making the heroic save for the bad guys. While Io was, and still is, the MVP of WWE's WarGames era, regardless of gender, Becky and Charlotte's long dormant feud erupting out of nowhere was the story I enjoyed most here. After wrestling way too much under Vince's reign, with Lynch badly booked as a heel and Charlotte badly booked as a face, the Tetris blocks finally felt like they clicked into place. The last time these two wrestled was actually 4 years ago at Survivor Series 2021, and I think I'm finally ready for them to feud again. Then Alexa Bliss came out, followed by Kairi Sane, AJ Lee, who scaled the cage to enter when Becky blocked the door, Nia Jax was the monster who laid all the faces out, Rhea Ripley got the final hero spot with a bin and bag of weapons, learning from the Jeff Hardy school of saving your teammates, pausing to do a full pyro-led entrance, and then Lash Legend was the rather anticlimactic final entrant. WWE are trying to get her over as a new powerhouse big deal, but it was at the expense of the excitement curve of the match. Then, after 20 minutes of entrances, WarGames, the endgame portion of the match where everyone is in the two rings and pins and submissions can win it for you, began. Where drama, near falls, sometimes blood, push everyone to their physical limit. Oh no, wait, it's over in 8 minutes. Asuka accidentally misted Lash Legend when Charlotte saved Rhea. It was a fun spot where AJ wasn't tall enough to pass Io the trash can, who was on top of the cage, so Rhea put Lee on her shoulders to reach. Becky was the last one standing after Io's trash can flip dive, and AJ made her tap quickly in the octopus stretch. It was a well-worked match, but it felt more like a series of mid-tier hardcore spots and entrances rather than the violence or drama a WarGames match makes you expect. I know why. It's obviously because they're saving all the twist and turn epicness for the men's main event. Right? This will likely set up AJ getting a singles match against Becky, which would have been better if Lynch still had the Intercontinental title. The match of the night, by far though, was full-size John Cena defending his Intercontinental title against Dominik Mysterio. Even though this was in Dom's hometown of San Diego, every single person in attendance understood the assignment. Because no one's quite sure what Saturday night's main event actually is, this was Cena's last ever PLE. There was a long pause. The California sun, like the man's career, was setting. The crowd were chanting for Cena. His music hit, and despite him ruining my 20s, even I'm going to miss him. This was all the sports entertainment from the start. Raquel Rodriguez interfered behind the referee's back. Her and Roxanne Perez blocked Cena on the outside. Dom posed for the heat, and then they did an ingenious work. Dom leapt off the barricade for a Hurricane Rana, but in what looked like a total botch, Cena ended up powerbombing him on his shoulder. Wade even pointed out on commentary this is similar but not the same as to how Penta dislocated his shoulder on the previous episode of Raw. I bought it as a legitimate injury because it looked like Cena or Dominik had genuinely screwed up. The referee had a word with Cena in the ring. Medics came down to tend to Dom, but then it was revealed as a heel ruse. Raquel and Roxanne beat up Cena in the ring, and the line, cheating, stealing Dom popped up to try a near fall. The referee was wise to it though and ejected Perez and Rodriguez. A couple of finisher kick-out spots, then Cena accidentally wiped out the referee with a shoulder tackle. So more interference. Finn Balor and JD McDonough ran down to beat up Cena more, but he fought back to hit a double AA, so I guess an AAAA, the smallest kind of battery. Cena hit an AA on Dom too, but there was no referee, which is when Liv Morgan made her return after being out since June with a dislocated shoulder also. She slapped Dom, which would have worked better if WWE hadn't forgotten about the Dom-Roxanne romance they were doing, and embraced Cena, but in a terrific callback to Cena's Elimination Chamber heel turn, her face dropped and her eyes went dead. She kicked Cena in the nuts, Dom hit a frog splash, and he won back the Intercontinental title. This was a resounding success. It was perfectly sports entertaining. Cena got to put over Dom, which Mysterio can boast about for the rest of his career. Liv Morgan is back, and the Judgment Day storyline can finally continue again, instead of being stuck on a 6-month-long treadmill. WWE then played the full version of the Women Mania promo, which smartly revealed Ripley, Io, Lynch, Charlotte, Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill being joined at a Las Vegas dinner table by the just returned Morgan, instantly putting Liv back in the main event scene. Stephanie Vaquer then beat Nikki Bella to retain her women's championship. This might have been one of Nikki's best ever matches. That's not the highest bar though, as the match itself was just fine. There was one moment that totally glitched out, when Stephanie ran into a Nikki boot in the corner, but the animation didn't trigger, so they just stood there looking at each other. They recovered well enough though, teasing the Devil's Kiss, with Stephanie eventually hitting it on the announcer's desk outside, and then again in the ring, ultimately hitting a corkscrew splash to win. Now Stephanie can move on to an actual title challenger, can say she beat a Hall of Famer, and Nikki can return to her home planet. Roxanne Perez, a heel, then gave a seat upgrade to some fans. That is not how you book bad guys. WWE announced they set a new Survivor Series attendance record of 46,016. I'd like to join Paul Levesque to say a big thank you to all the stakeholders and Riyadh Season for this company achieving its strategic Q4 deliverables. Oh, and yes, the filthy marks. And then came the main event. Whoa! Whoa! Going into the show, WrestleVotes reported there was disagreement backstage about the entrance order for the men's WarGames match. Sources indicate there is some creative contention over the entrance order for tonight's men's WarGames match. With the amount of star power in play, several scenarios were mapped out, and there are differing opinions, which again is a fancy way of saying Brock ain't getting in no small cage. The creative team eventually decided on CM Punk and Bron Breakker starting the match, which would have been way better if they had already fought in the Saturday night's main event match to determine the new World Heavyweight Champion. Yes, I am still annoyed by that. It was good stuff though, putting Bron's youthful strength against Punk's wily experience. It felt like the seed of a start of a tease of a future world title feud coming soon to a WrestleMania 49 near you. Drew McIntyre was out next. I had fantasy booked him and Punk starting the match to recapture their brilliant 2024 feud, but this order was the right call. You want the focus to be on the future of Bron versus Punk, and you still get the reference of Punk versus Drew. It also showed why the heels should always have the advantage, as this was really the only time WarGames felt like WarGames. Drew hit a Claymore and they worked over Punk, busted him open hard. Cody Rhodes entered next, where he accidentally elbowed Punk in making the save, escalating the babyface team tension that was set up on Raw, and then Braun took a horrible landing on his head off a Doomsday device. So far, so very good WarGames building. But then Logan Paul came out, and for me, the tension started to dissipate. Punk's focus became Logan, as that's likely the next world title feud that nobody wants. Jimmy Uso was out after that. Bronson Reed got a cool run hitting tsunamis on Punk, Cody and Jimmy like it was a premeditated strategy from Heyman, but then everyone got up and mostly no-sold them. Jey Uso took what little tension there was left and completely got rid of it, stopping the match to do a full yeet section, pole dancing on the steel support cable on top of the cage. I'm so tired of yeet, Brock Lesnar interrupting it made me pop. I popped for Brock Lesnar in 2025. I'm a horrible person, I guess. He F5'd everyone. The most interesting story was still Punk and Braun though, the men who had started the match. Punk was barely able to stand by this point, while Braun had barely broken a sweat. And Roman Reigns was, of course, the final entrant. Lesnar met him for a brawl outside and F5'd him through the table. This again felt like the kayfabe strategical genius of Paul, laying out this plan in advance. Heyman, not Logan, of course. So with everyone now entered, WarGames, the endgame portion of the match where everyone is in the two rings and pins and submissions can win it for you, began. With drama, near falls, Roman just a carcass on the mat, Punk's face covered in blood, everyone pushed to their physical limit. Oh no, wait, it's over in 5 minutes. After almost half an hour of edging, I only get a few minutes of actual hardcore action. I get enough of that ratio in my sex life, thank you very much. Heyman gave Logan the brass knuckles, but Roman got them to Superman punch everyone. He speared Brock through a table, Punk hit a GTS on Logan, but then multi-time WWE champion Vacant got in the cage. A masked man with every bit of his body covered super kicked Punk, then hit a stomp, of course implying it was a returning Seth Rollins. But you can put on as many dark layers as possible. You're not going to cover up that ass. PW Insider is reporting that Theory was the man in the black outfit. He was backstage at the show and the plan was to have him involved in the match in a disguise. Fightful then corroborated that report. Theory has been off TV for several months and was originally planned to be a member of the Vision and part of the WarGames team. This changed when Seth Rollins got injured though. He'll likely be revealed as the faction's new member on Raw. Braun then speared Punk to get the win, building that Breaker versus Punk feud that was set up in the opening that was good, but the rest of the match really lacked drama and substance for me. The go-home build was based around the tension between Roman, Cody and Punk, but aside from the accidental elbow from Cody, that never played into the actual match. Instead, it was saved for the post-match angle, where Roman helped Punk up, while one fan brilliantly shouted Z-Bros advertising Zootopia 2, but didn't help up Cody, even though Punk was the one who took the pin. It implied Roman versus Cody is the direction for Mania, and the Wrestling Observer have reported that as of this weekend, that is the case. The two world title matches for WrestleMania 42 will be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and CM Punk versus Bron Breakker. Overall though, it was an anticlimactic end and the weakest Survivor Series of the Levesque era. The masked interference spot finishes are overdone, and I doubt the reveal of Austin Theory will be received well. Both the men's and the women's WarGames matches lacked the final gear that usually makes them great. Multiple people who were at the show claimed their parts of the crowd booed the ending, not because Roman was snubbing Cody, but because they realized that's the ending? That's all we're getting? Like I said last month, I think Tony Khan moving Blood and Guts, which is AEW's version of WarGames, from its usual June-July slot to just 2 weeks before Survivor Series was a masterstroke. In a very subtle piece of counter-programming, it really exposed WWE's increasingly stale booking. Survivor Series 2025, supposedly one of WWE's big 4 PLEs of the year, is 60%. But let's be positive and count down John Cena's 10 best matches ever on Tables, Lists and Chairs, with me, Luke and Santi Zap. Click the video on screen now to watch it.